And welcome back. In today's video, we have finally some new Bannerlord footage. Now, this is the gameplay teaser trailer for Gamescom 2018, which starts out on the 21st of August, which is tomorrow or this morning if you're watching it in the US or the UK, depending. I was about to go to sleep as it's around 2 AM UK time, and I saw quickly pop up on my YouTube notifications that Tailworlds had uploaded another video. Now, I wasn't expecting a gameplay trailer teaser, as we've been teased enough throughout the whole year for this. So basically what I'm going to be doing today is first showing you the trailer, and then I'll be breaking it down and going through what we can see at Gamescom and what's actually in the trailer that we haven't seen before necessarily. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin. And for those of you that haven't seen it, here's the gameplay trailer. In my personal opinion, that trailer was amazing. It showed us so many things that we can expect from Gamescom this year, but still left us wanting more. Compare that to the likes of the Battlefield 5 trailer, and I think this one is 100 times better. Anyway, without further ado, let's begin breaking down this trailer. In the first scene, we can see just how beautiful the campaign map will look, and you can see the sun rising over it. And you can also see the day and night cycles, which also look very, very nice. Here we have the mountains within the Battanian faction. We also have an example of the Aserai lands, where there's obviously a high amount of desert. There's sand dunes and rock formations, as well as a castle, a few villages, and a town called, I can't say this, let's say Koyaz. It's also worth noting, in the bottom left, there are 6 different tabs. The first 4 are very self-explanatory. I'm sure you can figure those out. I'm not going to go through them. It's the last 2 that interested me. There's a lion's head and a crown. Now, the crown is grayed out, which could either mean it's selected, which I think is unlikely because the campaign map doesn't look any different, or it's to do with managing your own faction, possibly, which will then illuminate, of course, when you have your own faction. Hopefully, they'll reveal a little bit more about this during Gamescom. Now we have a character strolling through the streets of Calradia. This looks like a Valandian town, then it moves on to a Battanian one possibly, with those big stone towers in the background. This looks like, again, possibly a village, which looks really cool. Look at the sea in the background. Now we have one of my favorite parts of the trailer. It is the inventory screen, and it gives us a lot of detail of what we can expect. So you have 5 different equipment slots. You have the helmet, and then you have something that appears to be shoulder armor, where on the very far left you can see it says brass lamella shoulders, which is a very nice addition. It means you can customize your armor just that little bit more, and you could probably get some really awesome shoulder armor. Then you have your standard body armor, gloves, and shoes. For your horse, you have 2 slots. You have your horse as standard, and then you have your horse's body armor, which again is something that we've seen before, but it is again nice to see in this inventory mode. This menu is in the town of Varcheg, and he's buying and selling items for his character. We can now see further exploration of areas with a tavern with a man drinking a huge tankard. This is a tavern in another faction by the looks of things, with a bard playing some music with a guy dancing. I would just like to note how realistic these locations look. I really like how the character seems to fit in and doesn't seem excluded from the world. The people are just kind of going about their business. They don't really care about you. You're just kind of going into the tavern to get a drink. You're not there because you're some special person, and that's a really nice touch. I really like that. Here we can see a tournament fight with one-handers and shields. I prefer one-hander and shield combat to two-hander, as I'm just one of those people. One thing I really liked about the tournaments is how immersive it feels. There's a crowd and you can hear them cheering. You can see them up on the stands there. I think tournaments are similar to the way warband tournaments worked. However, obviously the AI is much better. It's not going to be running into walls and just being generally retarded. We can see at the end a tournament prize screen, which is something we haven't seen before. Along the bottom, you can see the first, second, third, and fourth rounds, which show the progression of the tournament. Then you have your rewards, which is a renown gain of 1, a black horse, and earnings from bets. So the earnings are similar to Warband again, where you place bets on yourself, or maybe others can place bets on you on this. You're not entirely sure. I hope there's not a gambling scene in Mount and Blade. It's good that you can actually get items now, so you get a little bit more of a monetary gain. You could probably sell that horse or even get it. And I presume the more important the tournament, and depending on who you beat, means you get better items. And the same with renown gain. Now we can see the battle screen on the campaign map between Borogmir's party and the Viking of the Forest, which is a people's party, which sounds like a communist sort of player, which is weird. One interesting thing is the fact that it's a people's party. That may mean that it's not actually associated with a faction, which could mean that there are parties like yourself around the map that are not necessarily part of a particular faction, which is a really nice touch. Again, making it feel a lot more immersive, and the fact that you are not a special character and that there are other people that can forge their own directions in this world. Another thing to note, just on the very far left, you can see some farms, which again is really cool. Just having that detail on the campaign map really increases that immersion. So going back on what I said earlier, Varang of the Forest people sounds like almost their own faction, or maybe like a bandit faction. Not really entirely sure, but this is the communication screen with him. And he looks pretty heavily armored for someone that's a bandit, so I'm going to assume it's a party like yourself. I may be completely wrong, and I'm sure they'll explain it at Gamescom. Actually, knowing Tailworlds, they probably won't, but, you know, it's speculation. So your communication with a character is very similar to Warband, where you can say similar of the 3 things. Then that progresses to, I'm here to deliver my demands. Is there any task I can do for you? And I must leave now. Which is extremely similar to Warband, if not exactly the same. You can also see the relationship with that person in the top right. Again, this is not too different from Warband, apart from you get a much prettier graphic with the man himself right in front of you. And no, I'm not saying that the man himself is very pretty. Now we can see further demonstration of the combat with axe combat from the top of the horse, and then horse archer combat. While I was going through and editing my commentary, I noticed that there is actually a hit marker when you hit one of the players, which is something very interesting indeed. Before, you kind of had to listen out for that sound of the thud of the arrow hitting, but there's actually hit markers in Mount and Blade 2 Bannerlord. That's something I was not expecting. Maybe I missed it before, but I think that's something pretty cool. Better then what looks like a street fight with your street gangs that we saw in Gamescom of 2016. This looks pretty cool. Looks a lot different to your standard fights. Here we can see a choke point with a huge axeman and his party, and he's just cutting them down. Here we can see 2 people go down from one swipe of the axe. That's a new feature that we've talked about before, but is very, very cool. And lastly, we have the charge of the cavalry into a huge mass of infantry. And that is a very cool ending to the trailer because of the combat and the variety of the combat demonstrated. Anyway, that will pretty much wrap it up for today's video. I hope you did enjoy it. I did put a lot more effort into actually analysing the video and being very careful in what I said. Although saying that, I probably made a few mistakes. But feel free to point them out down in the comments below. I know my previous Bannerlord video wasn't received as well as I thought it could have been, because it was more me talking about what I would like to see instead of actually saying anything new, and it was almost like I was going a little bit overkill on the Bannerlord videos. However, I do not just make Bannerlord videos. There is a lot of other things on my channel that you can go ahead and watch, and I think the people that watch my Bannerlord videos would really like my other content. It's just that it's not really shared by YouTube, my other content, as much as my Bannerlord stuff. So please, please, please go ahead and check out especially my Mountain Blade 2018 meme edition, because that's one of my proudest videos today and everybody seems to be enjoying that, so go ahead and check that out. We're going to have lots of things coming up over the next few days, and I'm really excited for it. I'm going to be trying my best to upload everything that I can. Again, my upload speed is awful and I'm very busy anyway. I'm off to a festival this weekend, so I've got to get all the stuff ready for that. So anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you've had an absolutely brilliant day, and I will see you in the next battle.